Am I the a-hole for making my pregnant sister-in-law cry when she kept asking why I changed my name? My brother, 30M, is married to Haley, 29F, and they're expecting a baby together. Last year I, 17F, officially changed my first name from Evelyn to Indy, which was a nickname form of my original middle name. My parents gave in after realizing how serious I was about being Indy and how I was not warming up to or growing into Evelyn. My brother and Haley want an older/vintage name for their baby, and Haley asked me about 5 months ago why I disliked Evelyn enough to change the name. At the time, she brought up how popular the name has become and how vintage is back. I told her I didn't like vintage names, and to me it sounded really old-fashioned. I told her the popularity didn't influence my decision. She wanted to know my reason for disliking older names and why I like something like Indy instead. I didn't mind her asking this first time. She brought it up again a week later, and she asked the same question and pressed more for why. She asked a third and a fourth time. I gave her the same answer and asked her why she kept asking me. I told her my answer wasn't going to change. By the seventh time she asked, she admitted she was worried her baby would hate having an older name and wanted to figure out what she could do to prevent what happened with me happening to her. She also said she'd like me to rethink my name because she thought Evelyn was beautiful and she was sad I had chosen something like Indy over it. I asked her to stop so many times already, and I even asked my brother to stop her. He told me I needed to understand it was the hormones. I can easily say she has asked me this more than 25 times by now. I'm not exaggerating that number either. 2 weeks ago, when she brought it up again, she felt like I had made a mistake changing my name and how 30-year-old me wouldn't be so against Evelyn. I told her 30-year-old me can deal with it if that happens. She told me I didn't really have a good reason to like the name, and Indy seemed like the kind of name someone young likes, but not someone older. Then yesterday happened, and I kinda lost my temper. She started out asking the same stuff, and the baby is almost ready to be born, so I know it's coming to an end, but she asked me to really think about why and help her, because she couldn't figure out what she'd do differently than my parents did. Then she said they really shouldn't have let me change my name so young. I snapped, and I told her to stop asking me the same question because my answer won't change, and her comments are not changing my mind, because I don't like old-fashioned names. I told her I think they're awful, and I'm sick and tired of hearing about how much better they are, and having her try to make me find a reason she finds acceptable. I told her just like she hates Indy, I hate Evelyn, and she needs to let it fucking go already. She burst into tears, and my brother got so mad at me. My parents were also like, why did I have to speak to her so harshly? Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he's the one who gave me the ultimatum, so he needs to deal with the consequences? My mom died when I, 17M, was 5. My dad remarried when I was 8 and made a blended family with his wife and her 2 kids. Then they had 2 kids together, so I have step and half siblings. My mom's family were a big part of my life for the first 6 years, and then my dad and them fought because my dad had met his wife by then and he didn't like their reaction to the news. Essentially, he wanted to invite them over for my grandparents' yearly family barbecue, and my grandparents didn't want to include them. They told him they couldn't accept my mom's replacement. He got mad at them for feeling that's what he was doing, and he told them they could forget about seeing either of us again. He tried to keep me from them, but they filed for grandparents' rights, and Dad's lawyer said they'd win, so he said I could see them once every 3 months for 4 hours. It was way less than I was used to, but it didn't stop me being close to them. He invited them to his wedding, and they didn't come. It pissed him off more, and then he got super weird about it, and he suddenly started demanding invites again for his wife's kids when I was invited, and then when my half-siblings were born, he was including them in the attempt to force my family's hands. But they never invited them. They did ask me if I wanted them there, and I said not really. So they didn't change their mind. My dad always bitched about them whenever my visits would come around. He really hated that I went and my step and half-siblings couldn't. He tried to tell me I should advocate for them all to be included. I never replied to him because it was easier not to. Once I turned 14, he got worse with that stuff, and he'd complain that I was calling and texting them and that I kept in touch more than the once every 3 months. He'd tell me they hate my siblings, that he didn't want us to have our family. I told him that didn't upset me or make me mad, and it didn't change that I wanted to see them. The day I went back to school, senior year, my dad told me since I was graduating in May and I'd be 18, He needed to make it clear that I will need to choose. Because I can't keep spending time with people who refuse to include most of my family, and he told me I'll have to choose my family or them. I told him the them were my family and I'd choose them. He didn't expect the answer. He got pissed and told me I should always choose siblings over extended family. Then he acted like I hadn't given my answer because he told me when he and his wife throw me the graduation party that I won't be allowed to invite my mom's side. I told him he didn't need to throw me one because they would, and I'd made it clear my choice will be them. Dad told me that isn't how it works. I told him it is because he gave the ultimatum and he needs to live with the consequences. He accused me of twisting his words and disrespecting him by throwing that in his face. Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for calling my fiance to grow up over his picky eating? My 27F fiance, 29M, is an extremely picky eater, and lately I've been feeling really frustrated with his extreme pickiness when it comes to food. He has a very limited diet and refuses to try anything outside of his comfort zone. He doesn't eat meat or vegetables. His diet typically consists of stuff like pizza, macaroni, cereal, and bread with the occasional fruit on the side. This has made it extremely frustrating whenever we eat out. If we're getting something to eat, we have to only go to places that serve anything he wants, which limits our options to mostly just fast food or pizza places. He's offered to go out to other restaurants with me, but he never ends up ordering anything when we do, and it's extremely embarrassing. He never eats anything I cook and typically just sticks to making his own food. This came to a head when we visited my parents last week. We sat down to eat together. They know he doesn't eat meat, so prepared a vegetable dish. When we were eating, he only ate a small portion of it, and I could tell from how little he had eaten he wasn't going to finish it. My parents asked what was wrong, and he thanked them for the food, but said he just wasn't that hungry and ended up just fiddling with the rest of it and threw most of it out after dinner. I was mortified. On the way back, he wanted to stop and get food, and I kind of laid into him. I told him he embarrassed me, was rude to my parents to not eat the dish, and that he seriously needs to grow up and stop eating like a man-child. This isn't the first time we've had an argument about this, but it is the first time I've been this mad. Last summer we visited my extended family at my uncle's lake house, and he basically only ate frozen pizza and cereal the 3 days we were there, which caused issues since my nieces and nephews were there, and I felt it set a bad example for them. He got really hurt and hasn't talked to me much for the past few days. I feel bad, but at the same time, I'm just tired of this. So, am I the a-hole? I feel I could have been nicer and more accommodating, but it's not like he has a medical condition that forces him to eat this way. I'm just so tired with him not even being willing to try and continuing to eat like a 5-year-old. Am I the a-hole for locking the pantry to stop my roommate from eating all my food? So I, 26F, live with 2 roommates, and one of them, Jess, 28F, has a bad habit of eating other people's food. At first, it was small things like a handful of chips or a piece of fruit, and I didn't really care. But lately, she's been eating entire meals I've prepped for the week, snacks, basically everything. I've confronted her multiple times, and she always apologizes, saying she'll replace it, but she never does. I've asked her to just respect what's mine, and she'll agree. But the next day, something else goes missing. It's driving me insane because groceries are expensive, and I don't want to budget extra just to feed her. I finally got fed up and bought a small lock for the pantry I use and started keeping my dry goods and snacks in there. I also cleared out a section of the fridge for my food and labeled everything that's mine. Since I installed a lock, Jess has been super passive-aggressive, saying I'm treating her like a child and making the house feel uncomfortable. She even made a sarcastic comment in front of friends about me putting everything under lock and key. Now, the other roommate, Sarah, says she understands why I'm frustrated, but she thinks I took it too far by locking up my food and creating tension in the house. I honestly don't think I'm in the wrong here, but now I'm second-guessing myself. Am I the a-hole for locking up my food to stop Jess from eating it, or did I overreact? Am I the a-hole for keeping a gift card I received when purchasing a gift for someone else? For our wedding anniversary, I bought my husband a $200 rangefinder. The store was running a promotion where you'd get a $50 gift card with the purchase. My husband knew about the deal, so when I gave him the gift, he asked where the gift card was. Since you couldn't use the gift card on the original purchase, I used it to buy him a Christmas gift that he won't get until December. He said it left an icky taste in his mouth because when questioned about the amount spent, I told him I spent $215, but he thinks it only counts as $165 because of the gift card. For context, my card was charged $214.99 for the rangefinder. I explained that I used the gift card toward a separate $215 Christmas gift, so technically, I've only spent $165 on Christmas so far. Here's where I'm confused. When I asked him for additional gift ideas, he told me I had spent enough. But later, he said he was expecting to get the $50 gift card with a rangefinder, and that's why he originally said I didn't need to get him anything else. For our anniversary, he got me a necklace, on sale for $190, and a Lululemon bag for $40. Now I'm feeling like crap, and I don't know if I did something wrong or if I'm overthinking it. AITA, thank you so much for watching the video. For more videos like this, please subscribe.